Okay, let's go ahead and jump into the demo here. So I'm actually going to begin in Photoshop. Now, what we have here is a design for an interface that a designer's put together. You can see that we've got nicely labeled layers in the right-hand side of the screen. Our application should have two different states or two different screens. We've got a login screen and we've got a student admin screen. And this is going to contain a list of students. The designer has come up with a design for a scroll bar here. And what would be really nice is if there was a tool that could take this Photoshop document and turn it into a real, actual, functioning Flex application. Well, we're in luck. That's what Flash Catalyst is going to do for us. Now, before we go take a look at Flash Catalyst, let's look at some of these layers, and specifically the scroll bar. If in Flex 3 or earlier, if a designer came to me and said that they wanted a scroll bar that looked like this, I would tell them, well, I can approximate it, I can get it pretty close, but it's going to take me several hours to accomplish that, and it's also going to frustrate me. So one of the great things about Flex 4, as I mentioned before, is FXG and MXML graphics. And what this is going to allow us to do is take these graphics that represent a scroll bar and actually turn it into a real functioning scroll bar without having to write any code to do that. And we're going to accomplish sort of the same thing with the rest of this design as well. But if any of you have experience with Flex 3, you'll know that customizing a scroll bar to look like that was a difficult process before. So let's switch over to Flash Catalyst, and I'm going to import that Photoshop document. And I'm going to keep the default options. Okay, so as you can see, it's imported our Photoshop file. If you look over in the Layers panel in the top right of the screen, you can see that all the layers that I had before are still there. And what we have in the top here in the Pages and States tab is one page. And what we're going to need to do is create a new page or a new state so that we can switch between the login state and the student admin state. So that's the first thing that I'm going to do. And what I'm going to do is duplicate that state by clicking the Duplicate State button. And then I'll rename the first one, and I'll call it Login. And I'll rename the second one and call this one Admin. Okay. Now, in the admin state, I want to hide the login layer and show this students layer. I'll switch over to the login state, and here I'm actually all set because the students layer is already hidden. Now what I need to do is create a way to switch between these two states. So when I run the application right now, we'll be stuck on this first page or this first state. In order to be able to switch states, I'm going to have to create a button, and what I have here is a sign-in graphic, and we need to convert that to a component. Now anytime you select an object in Flash Catalyst, there's this heads-up display that shows up, which allows us to convert the artwork to a component. So I'm going to choose button, and as you can see in our layers, there's now a new layer that says button instead of sign in. I'm actually going to rename this guy and call it sign in.
Tom, we have a question from our audience.
Okay.
Do I need 3 tools to make an interface, PS, FC, and FB? Won't that be too much cost?
Well, that's a good question. I'm demonstrating this as an option. I'm also, once we get into Flash Builder, I'm going to show you that all you really need, if you want, is just Flash Builder. And actually, you can build a fully functioning Flex application without buying any tools at all. All you have to do is download the Flex SDK, and all of the components that I mentioned before, data grids, lists, and buttons, etc., those are all available to you with a reasonably good-looking appearance or skin, and so you can do all that stuff for free. If you, on the other hand, have a design team, most likely they have Photoshop or Illustrator or Fireworks. If you want to easily be able to take their assets and convert that into a Flex UI, the easiest way is going to be to use Flash Catalyst. Now, I've been developing Flex applications for years, and Flash Catalyst didn't exist. It is definitely possible to just take graphics from PNGs, JPEGs, etc., and incorporate those as skins in your Flex applications without using a tool like Flash Catalyst. Once I get a little bit further through the demo, I think Flash Catalyst will kind of demonstrate its value. So hopefully that answers the question. So I have this button, and what I need to do is add an interaction to it. And so I click this Add Interaction button. So on click, I'm going to play a transition to state. And the state that I want to transition to is the admin state. So now when I click this button, it should take me immediately to the admin screen. So let's run this real quickly. Okay, so we're on our login screen. I click the sign in button, and it switches us over to the admin state. Now, one of the great features in Flash Catalyst is the ability to design the interaction so we can add effects and transitions very easily. Now, if we take a look at this timeline tab, on the left we can see we've got state transitions, and there's this row says login transitioning to admin. In the timeline section you can see there's a fade out and fade in. It knows that we're fading out the login layer and fading in the admin layer. And so in order to create a smooth transition between these two states, all I have to do is click the smooth transition button, and you can see that it stretches out those two effects.